You have got to be kidding me with this lawsuit. It is so predictable, and I believe it's totally transparent what is going on here. It looks like a full-blown money grab is what we see happening down in Westport, where yesterday a federal civil rights lawsuit is gaining national attention. The Urban Council, Coalition of the Urban League of Greater Kansas City, NAACP, Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Greater Kansas City, and the Urban Summit announced its intent to file an amicus brief in support of a lawsuit. The $70 million federal lawsuit alleges RICO violations and discrimination against black businesses in Westport. We are going to have on Westport businessman Bill Nigro this morning at 8:05 to respond to some of this. But to put this into perspective, what the allegations are here is that basically the Westport Community Improvement District and specific landlords in the Westport area tried to push black entrepreneurs and black business owners out of Westport. Court filings include accusations that Kansas City officials, current and former board members in Westport's Community Improvement District, business owners and property owners colluded through good neighbor agreements to push out black entrepreneurs. Now, if that's what happened here, obviously that's wrong. That's gross. That's, yes, racist. The Westport Community Improvement District is obviously not talking publicly because it's ongoing litigation. That's always how this works. The plaintiffs are going to go out there and scream in every microphone they can find. And those who are getting accused of this and getting sued to the tune of $70 million are going to have to keep quiet. So you know and I know how this works from the standpoint of public perception, especially when you're talking about the issue of race. But color me very skeptical in all this. We know there's been a lot of issues down in Westport, right? We know that the issues in Westport have been going on for a long time. They've gotten worse over the last few years. You've had shootings. You've had a lot of issues there late at night, early in the morning. But Westport has also done a pretty darn good job paying for their own security. This is something that is not done in other entertainment districts around Kansas City. These business owners pay out of their own pocket for security in their entertainment district. And they've been fleeced on a lot of this stuff, by the way, for far too long. That's been a part of the issue as well. So is it more about the skin color of the business owner, or is it saying, you know what, when it comes to nightclubs and maybe entertainment spots like that, we would like fewer of those. We would like to be less in the business of nightclubs and more in the business of maybe run-of-the-mill restaurants. Is that racist? If the person who just so happens to want to open the nightclub is black and they say, hey, we think we need fewer nightclubs, does that have anything to do with the skin color of the person who wants to open the nightclub? Or is it about the business? Which one is it? So this came up, obviously, all over the local news last night. Here was Channel 41's coverage.
I attended a press conference Monday outside of the building where one of the plaintiffs, Christopher Lee, signed a lease agreement and paid a deposit in 2024. He claims the landlord and community improvement district refused to give him the keys and didn't want the crowd, they say, he would bring with his business. He says
the crowd that he would bring with his business. Now, why does everybody jump to race on that? If he is a black man, why would everyone just automatically jump to race? Now, if you have examples of full-blown racism, then, listen, I'll get your back just like everybody else. But there are very much two sides to this story right now in the people that I've talked to. Let's continue, Channel 41.
They accused him of changing his business model.
This whole experience has been very, very frustrating. They tried to stereotype me. They tried to put me in a box with racism, bigotry, and we're not going to allow that. If the revolutionary has to start with me, then so be it.
All right, well, let's pump the brakes on the revolutionary thing for a second, okay? Martin Luther King, all right? Can we pump the brakes on that one just for a hot minute? You okay with that in there, Mark, if we just kind of slow our roll on that thing?
Yeah, I think you meant the revolution, but you said the revolutionary.
Well, I won't hold that against him, all right? I won't.
Such a nice man.
I won't do that. But let's just pump the brakes here for a second. Let's drop the revolution talk here for a minute, okay? And let's just go through what the guy just said there. What he said is that he was specifically targeted because of race. What I'm hearing and what the allegations are, the defenses on the other side, is that he changed his business model and suddenly there were those within Westport, whether it's landlords or the community improvement district, who said, you know what? I don't think this is the best thing for Westport. They're entitled to do that, are they not? And is that motivated by race or is that motivated by the kind of business that this individual wanted to put in Westport? I just can't believe, trust me, there are plenty of people in Westport who want to see more business down there because that's good for everybody. More foot traffic is good for all of those businesses. Westport has a problem on that front. It's got a perception problem. We all know that. Why they would magically just suddenly say, you know what, we're going to be racist against this guy. I'm sorry, I have a very difficult time believing that, knowing the business owners and the people that I know who operate down there in Westport. But let's continue from Channel 41.
To ensure that when people come into our entertainment districts, that black businesses and brown businesses and black patrons are welcomed.
By the way, there are plenty. I mean, I admit, okay, I stopped going to parts of really all of Westport when we moved out of the city. And now that I've got 3 little kids, 7, 4, and 1, going out, I put up my air quotes, is not really something that we do. We'll go out to dinner once in a blue moon. Maybe we grab a drink by the house afterwards, but that's really about it. So my days of going out are really non-existent anymore. But I can tell you, before kids, living in the city, going out to Westport a couple of times, there's not a diversity problem down there at all. There isn't. And Gwen Grant being like, oh, boy, we've got to make sure that people of all backgrounds are welcomed in Westport. I'm pretty sure that's not a problem. Last time I was down there.
This announced a list of demands for city officials to meet before the World Cup comes to Kansas City. Some of them include having the city's civil rights department monitor community improvement districts for compliance with civil rights laws and amending Westport's regulations to prohibit discriminatory gatekeeping and cultural exclusion.
Unbelievable. That is Channel 41 with their coverage last night. On the text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, the next question would be, if they allowed this gentleman to sign a lease, why did they do that? If they were racist and they just didn't want him down there, that just seems dumb as well. Well, yeah, what did they realize he was black after the fact? I mean, wait, hold on. We were going to let this guy open a business, then we suddenly realized he was black. No, that's not how this works. Okay? If it was truly just about race, you wouldn't have gotten that far along in the process anyway. So this whole thing just stinks to high heaven. Of course, local Kansas City media just has its blinders on, and I get it. They don't want to go out there and seem like they're being biased either way, but you just got to use your head for a second here. And I do believe that from what I've seen in the coverage, they've got to do a better job on this Westport story, at least asking questions to the people who are willing to talk to try to find some holes in the argument because, boy, I mean, these things are as wide as some of the potholes on Warnell right now.
I went down to Westport for a concert a couple months ago, and it had been a while since I'd been down there.
Yeah.
So I went down there just flying solo by myself, driving through the streets, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was a Saturday night about 7 o'clock, and it was popping down there. There was people of every race, every religion, I assume, down there hanging out, and it was a good time. And, I don't know what they're really referring to here on this.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, Mark. Thank you for the firsthand report. And I'm glad you got out of there in one piece, most importantly. Nice job. And, that's what I would expect from Westport on a Saturday night. But, as has been the case for far too long. Racism is good business, sad to say. Very much sad to say.
Show some RESPICT.
Al knows it, and we all know it.
And I guess I got out of there before 10 o'clock, too, so I didn't stay out too late.
Yeah, but, you saw people of all backgrounds enjoying Westport and enjoying Kansas City, and that's what it's all about. 6:14 on a Tuesday. Glad you're here on KCMO. Bill Nigro is going to join us at 8 o'clock to react to this lawsuit, the latest on it, and where it all goes from here. Coming up, the Swifties are coming after me. Oh, no. Why? What happened? What did I do? Well, we'll talk about that next. Oh, no. Somehow the Swifties found my social media yesterday, and they're very, very upset with me. And I've just got to share it with you because I need your support here in all this. I need your emotional support. I may need your social media support as well on Instagram and on X at Pete Mundo. You can find me there. So yesterday, we talked about this on the show, and I pointed this out on social media, that nobody else in Kansas City media is calling out Travis Kelce for consistently not talking to the press after losses this season. So I note this on social media. I said I respect the heck out of his career, but it's completely childish and it's lacking leadership. And, he's continued to get away with it, is what I noted on social media. I said 2 weeks ago, we get his Mahomes Kermit the Frog impression after they beat the Colts. They win. He's in a good mood. He'll talk. But once again, after his worst game of the season on Sunday night and with the season on the brink, he can't give a few basic quotes. I said that's what leaders on teams do. They don't sulk. They don't avoid the media consistently after bad games. The rest of the guys are out there answering questions. But Travis Kelce, the biggest celebrity on the team, a 13-year NFL veteran, and one of the highest paid guys on the team skips out. What's that look like in the locker room? And how has it not drawn more criticism from Kansas City media this season? So I post this, and, it got a little bit of traction yesterday, but somehow it got into the algorithm of the Swifties. Oh, no! And then, boy, these clowns, they are something else. I mean, they're ruthless, Mark. They are absolutely ruthless.
They are a lot of the time. I've gotten on the good side of the Swifties, so I should jump in there and help you out.
Yeah, I'm going to need your help, man. I'm going to need your help. I mean, I've got so many Swifties now just telling me, he doesn't owe you anything. He doesn't have to do anything. And then, of course, you click on the profile of these people, and it's all like, Swiftie, Tay Trav, Trav Tay. It's like, goodness, you guys are like a cult.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's just a full-blown cult. These people can do no wrong in their eyes. I mean, you want to go out there and call Trump supporters cultish. This is next-level cult. This is like, whoa, I've never seen anything quite like it.
I'm surprised I didn't get called out last night because I said if the Eagles lose, there's going to be a huge cry fest on New Heights this week. Because the Chiefs losing. I mean, then the Eagles did beat the Chargers lost to the Chargers last night. Oh.
It's going to be a rough New Heights is what you're saying this week.
It's going to be absolutely horrific.
Yeah. So I got this.
Swifties are going to come after us.
Oh, they're going to come after us hard, man. I got this. Travis goes on New Heights every single week and talks about the game and takes accountability. Oh, what? Talking to his brother on a freaking computer? Gee, dude's making $20 million a year, okay? You can't take a couple of questions from a beat reporter making $70,000 a year in the locker room after the fact? Come on. Stop with that.
The only thing he gives the podcast that he wouldn't give to the local reporters is dropping a few F-bombs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only difference.
That's the only difference. Thank you for that. Thank you very much there, Mark. I appreciate that. But I've got hundreds of Swifties all over my mentions. All over it. Of course, there's a lot of people saying, what about Harrison Butker? Okay, Harrison Butker's not had a good season. Okay? He hasn't. I'm not aware of Harrison Butker specifically turning down the media. If so, that's wrong too. But don't do the whataboutism thing. Okay? If there's evidence that Harrison Butker is avoiding the media as well, I'll say that's wrong. But also, let's be honest, Harrison Butker ain't Travis Kelce. All right?
They only asked to talk to Harrison Butker after he makes a game-winning field goal.
Yes, exactly right. Oh, my gosh. But there's just there's some nasty, nasty mentions on here. So if you want to back me up, you can find that on X or I don't think it's on Instagram, but it's on X at Pete Mundo is where you can find it. Now, speaking of post-game interviews, did you hear Justin Herbert last night? Monday Night Football. The Chargers beat the Eagles. That's not good for the Chiefs, obviously. Justin Herbert, after the game on the field, was asked for an interview from ESPN. Laura Rutledge on the field. Take a listen to what he said and how this went down. You can hear him at the beginning of this clip be like, hey, I'm just trying to celebrate with my team. I thought it was a bad look for Justin Herbert. I'm just trying to celebrate with my team. Yeah, I know, but can we talk to you really fast?
I'm trying to celebrate with my team. No, I know, but can we just talk to you really fast? What was it like to watch the interception there that sealed this game for you guys to get this win? Yeah, the defense played incredible. You know, they came up with so many big stops today, so proud to be able to play for those guys. And the way they compete down in, down out is really fun to watch. We know you were dealing with a broken hand tonight. You gutted it out. You were hit multiple times. How are you feeling right now? Feel pretty good, thank you. And then what can you say about the way that this team was able to pull this off in overtime? You guys know how important this game was and how good the opponent was on the other side. Yeah, not the way we drew it up, but the battle in these guys, you know, it's so much fun, and I'm so honored to be a part of this team, and they never quit, and, you know, it's just fun to be a part of, and we'll watch the film and have to get better at it. Appreciate it, man. You too. But we'll have to get better at it, and we'll keep moving forward. All right, thank you, Justin. Yep, thank you. Joe. All right, now he can go celebrate with his teammates. Thank you, Laura. Great job.
I gotta love Joe Buck on the back end there. Well, gotta go celebrate. He can go celebrate with his team now. That's a terrible look from Justin Herbert. Noob. That is such a rookie. Bro, it's a Monday Night Football game in December. Pump the brakes. You're not even in first place in the division. Relax. Relax, buddy. It's Monday Night Football.
And Hurts had to play a worse game than Mahomes did on Sunday night for them to win the game.
Oh, that's a good point. So I see this, and it's like, listen, this is not about me being in the media and standing up for fellow media. It's about the fan. Okay? In these instances, if you're a Chargers fan, let's say, you want to hear from your quarterback immediately after a win. Justin Herbert is paid $262 million. That's his contract over a 5-year deal. Because of the massive amounts of money that ESPN and Fox and these other outlets are willing to pay these leagues to broadcast these games. And part of the deal is you got to answer a couple of goofy questions sometimes after the game. Do it, grow up, understand it's part of the job. It's the same thing with Travis Kelce. Same exact thing. These guys could all learn from Trump. He's never shy to answer a question or two, right? But my goodness, you got a on-field reporter asking you a couple of softball questions about a game you just won, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to celebrate. Jeez, they got to go to the Trump school of answering questions. That's what they all need. All right, to my friends in the farming community, are you good with this $12 billion bailout coming from the Trump administration yesterday that obviously was announced one day ahead of the president hitting the campaign trail? He's going to be in Pennsylvania today, pitching his economic message, talking about affordability and things like that. But the president, as you may have seen yesterday, had a big announcement that they are doing $12 billion in aid to struggling U.S. farmers as the ag sector continues to deal with some of the fallout from the tariffs. And we know that this has been the long game and a long game for the president trying to basically reset the global economy. But there have been people here in the United States who have taken a hit. Soybean farmers have gotten a lot of attention, obviously. China's a big consumer of U.S. soybeans, but that's something that has obviously slowed for the U.S. farmer in recent years because China is not buying as much of them, and there's frankly an oversupply of them. Because you go back to 2022, And there was a big push by the government then to get more soybean supply out there. So farmers were incentivized to go out there and obviously make soybeans. Well, now it's been, about a year and a half of the soybean market struggling. And the back and forth with China and the tariff issues there have obviously caused some issues as well. So much of the aid, $11 billion, is going to be in the form of one-time payments through the Farmer Bridge Assistance Program, which helps U.S. crop farmers. The remaining $1 billion will go towards commodities not covered under the Bridge Assistance Program, according to the administration. Now, what I would love to know, because this is the case with so many government programs, how easy is it for you, a mom and pop farmer, to actually get your hands on any of this money? Or is it application after application after application, knowing the right people, knowing how to fill out the forms, kind of like all the PPP money during COVID? That was just an absolute utter joke. I mean, anyone got it, but there was a whole process that if you didn't follow the process to a T, you were screwed. Is it like that, where this is really about bailouts for big ag? Or can this actually help the little guy? I don't know the answer. It's not my area of expertise. I'll be the first one to admit it. But specifically when it comes to soybeans, and it looks like those farmers are going to get a lot of attention, that's one of those things that we have a lot of, more so in Missouri than Kansas, in looking at the top soybean states. We're not in the top 5 in either of our states. It's Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Minnesota, Nebraska. But Missouri is in the top 10 for soybeans. And that's a big part of who this $12 billion in aid is expected to help. 913-408-7957. Eli's in Kansas City first up. Hey, Eli, good morning.
Hey, Pete, you started to hit the nail on the head there. Just like the federal government's intervention in student financing for college, this will not do anything to help long-term with farming. The issue in farming, and tariffs have exacerbated this, but the issue in farming forever has been the cost of inputs and the monopolistic tendencies of these big pharma corporations, or not big pharma, but big ag corporations that create monopolies. There's no competition. Input costs due to overregulation by the government are astronomical. And all you're going to do by injecting billions of dollars in aid into the farming market is allow the big ag corporations to pump up their prices even farther. In the long run, this will not help farmers. There's a candidate, Zach Lane, for governor in Iowa. This is his whole campaign, has been the devastation of big agricultural monopolies on farmers. And so, again, the tariffs have exacerbated the issue, but the real problem isn't going away. And until they address the monopolies in agriculture, farmers are going to struggle.
So, I mean, what does that look like? Is it breaking up? I mean, is it having I'm always leery of doing it, but there's been obviously times in American history, you go back 110 years or so, and breaking up the monopolies actually worked out pretty well for the American economy. Is that what it's going to take on all of these sectors and all of these industries to really reset some things that need to be reset?
It's going to require re-injecting competition, just like with pharmaceuticals. When we introduce generic drugs into the market, it drives down the prices wholesale for everything. Inputs for farmers are no different. You can raise, the cost per acre in Brazil to grow corn is about $157 cheaper per acre just for the inputs, exact same inputs, but Monsanto sells their product cheaper down there because they don't have a monopoly on the industry. And if you do the math, $157 an acre is a huge, huge number when you extrapolate, when you push that out to thousands and thousands of acres of corn, soybeans, milo, things like that.
Great call there, Eli. Thanks so much. That's good stuff. I mean, you see, obviously, Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins, she was going nuts and celebrating this yesterday, saying the money will start to go out at the end of February. Farmers will be able to begin applying for the aid in the next month or so. Farmer trade groups largely praised the administration's aid package, including the American Soybean Association, which said this year has been the perfect storm of low crop prices, high production costs, and loss of trade markets. their president, Caleb Ragland, saying, quote, "We appreciate the administration's attention to the challenges farmers continue to face." But is it helping the little guy? That's my question. I mean, I saw a lot of people here locally excited about this. I saw Ty Masterson, who, of course, is running for governor of Kansas. He put out a statement yesterday saying this is a big win for Kansas farmers. President Trump delivered a massive $12 billion aid package to support our hardworking producers. $1 billion directly to row crops, $1 billion for specialty crops. President Trump promised he would never forget rural America. Today, he delivered. He says, "Here, as your next governor, I'll bring the same America First leadership with lower taxes, fewer regulations, and strong support for Kansas ag." That is part of the statement from Ty Masterson, who wants to be the next governor in Kansas. I mean, I'm just skeptical of the whole thing because I continue to see the little guy getting squeezed on all of these deals. And when the government's getting involved, typically the big guys just get bigger and they do better. Steve's in Kansas City, Kansas. What's up, Steve?
Hey, Pete, you know how many Somalians just became farmers in Minnesota? Until they get the waste, fraud, and abuse under control, no program's any good. But that isn't what I called. You know, I called to say all the farmers I talked to, they're kind of happy right now. Soybeans prices are up 10%, and the price of fuel is down. And the farmers I know, they're kind of got some hope.
Oh, that's a good point, Steve. I did see that. I mean, the soybean prices are up about 10% from their lows in August and September. So, I mean, you know, that's a win. Now, you could look at it another way and say, well, it's down, about 15% from 2 years ago in November. I mean, there's a million ways you could spin it. But, yes, I mean, it's been a good run here the last few weeks, couple of months compared to where it's been. Mark, go ahead. You're on KCMO. Mark, what's up, big guy? Mark, you're on KCMO Talk Radio. Don't be shy now, Mark. Don't be shy on me, buddy.
Good morning.
Yeah, go ahead, my man.
Hey, Pete. I used to work at the USDA, led a pretty large contract there, implementing farm aid programs. They're used to this. These guys are kind of getting money from the government all the time. So your question about will this benefit the little guy? I mean, they're all in the queue. They know how to do it. They've been doing it for a long time. They'll get some of this money. You know, as far as your other callers' comments about, you know, long term, how do you fix it? This won't fix it long term, but at least it'll be a bit of a Band-Aid for them right now.
It's temporary relief.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good deal there, Mark. Thank you, my man. I appreciate that. 913-408-7957. How you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. At the end of the hour, I do want to share with you the passing of a legendary KCMO Talk Radio listener and caller, I should say. Not just listener, but also a caller. I just found out about this yesterday, so we will do that end of the hour on KCMO. Paulie, go ahead, my man. You're on KCMO. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Pete. I was going to comment on a couple things. I think maybe Steve, the last caller there, talked about soybean prices being up. But the soybean prices on the Chicago Board of Trade are a little different than local prices. Local prices aren't up as much as what the trade is because of something called basis and local markets being flooded with some soybeans. So it's not quite as good as maybe what that is presented. But on the second point, your question about does it help the smaller farmers? I'm a smaller producer and in Missouri, and when I go into the USDA office, the Farm Service Agency, they do a really good job of helping me and having all the paperwork together and making it fairly easy for me as a smaller producer to get my proportionate amount of money. So from my experience, it is not disproportionate in that it helps large producers over small producers. That's been my experience.
Okay. All right. That's good. Thank you, Paulie. I appreciate you sharing that.
You bet.
Good work, my man. Thank you very much. No, listen, if guys like Paulie are getting helped, I'm open to that. I still don't like government bailouts at all. And I still think some of this has been self-inflicted by the United States. But if there's a process that makes it easy for guys like Paulie, okay. I still think, as callers have noted throughout this last few minutes, we've got broader issues in the industry, in the ag sector, that do need to be addressed. All right, this has been a fear of mine leading up to this World Cup for quite some time. And I don't want to say it came to fruition yesterday, but I'm bouncing around the radio dial in Kansas City. And when it comes to sports talk, there's one guy who I actually think is the most talented guy exclusively on sports talk radio in Kansas City. And that's Carrington Harrison. And, I still think Keatsman's the guy, but in terms of people exclusively on sports talk radio, I would give him the nod. And I don't think it's all that close, to be honest. He's good. So he has on Mayor Lucas yesterday. And, they're just kind of yucking it up. I get it. He's doing sports talk. They're talking about the Chiefs and Andy Reid and going for it on fourth down and what he was thinking. And then at the end, they talk about the World Cup. And they're like, okay, how are we prepping for the World Cup? How are we looking? And, Quentin's doing his rah-rah, Kansas City, we're all set, everything's great, the whole thing, right? And then at the end, with the streetcar, that comes up. Hey, how's the streetcar extension been the first few weeks of that thing being opened down to UMKC? Oh, everything's great. Oh, my gosh, couldn't be better. It's just everyone loves the streetcar. I was at the KU-Mizzou game on Sunday, and, everyone loves the streetcar. No matter what the weather is, people just, oh, boy, it's fantastic. Okay. And then he mentions extending the streetcar going east-west. And I'm like, no.
I'm getting pissed now.
Nope, nope. Let's not go there. Okay, we just wrapped up a 3.5-mile streetcar extension that cost $350 million. It's $100 million a mile for the streetcar. Now, of course, a decent amount of that came from the feds, which is not going to happen in this administration, and God willing, will never happen. $100 million a mile on an antiquated early 20th century transportation system. Only the government could think something that is that stupid is a good idea. And if you want to talk about, hey, we're going to build this streetcar east-west, and we're going to have a great streetcar summer next year with the World Cup, and it's going to prove that the streetcar is the way of the future. Really? And where's this money coming from? What did we find out the city was running a deficit of? It was like hundreds of millions of dollars when that report came out a few weeks back. You really think that building $100 million per mile streetcar extensions is the play right now? I mean, listen, I know it's more of a rah-rah deal, but you better believe that when the mayor comes back on here on Thursday, and it's been a few weeks since we had Thanksgiving, and then I had pneumonia, and we haven't talked to him in a while, I'm bringing that one up. And I'm not going to let him get away with the rah-rah thing on this, because there is no evidence to suggest we have the money. There's very little evidence to suggest there's a demand for it. I mean, you're talking about going out to, he mentioned KU Medical Center there, just over the state line in KCK. You could walk there from Westport. I mean, you really need a streetcar for that? You kidding me? It just didn't make any sense to me at all, John. But you know what? I at least was yelling at my radio yesterday as a result.
I was trying to determine the eastern terminus, if you will, where that starts.
That's a good point.
And then that would probably be a debate and argument.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Mm-hmm. That's a very...
Because we have to build it so they'll come, right?
Yes.
We don't need to prove that it needs to be built. We just build it.
Yes, and then they come, just like Field of Dreams.
It's not a question whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. It's just how much it's going to cost.
Bingo. And you better believe the feds are, and at least under this administration, the feds are not going to have any interest in dumping tens or hundreds of millions of dollars into a streetcar project in Kansas City, and nor should they. Well, you got the Trumpster hitting the road today. He is going to be in Pennsylvania pitching his economic policies ahead of what is expected to be a more robust 2026 from the big guy. So he really hasn't done much when it's come to kind of his campaign-style rallies that, obviously we became so accustomed to in 2016 and then obviously throughout his first term. And into 23 and 24. There's not been a lot of that over the last few months. But he's going to be in Pennsylvania today, swing district, Eastern PA. And this is the first of many planned domestic trips the White House is organizing on an issue it believes will be a key decider in next year's midterms, and that's the economy and the catchphrase affordability. I love the idea, and I think it's necessary for the president to do this for the GOP to have any chance next year of saving themselves in the House and the Senate. Because what we've learned is that Trump voters don't typically show up in elections where Trump is not on the ballot. And one thing that we also learned, and this was a new development in the political arena, this past election 2024, one thing we found out, and the data was very clear on this, had the turnout been higher, Trump's margin of victory would have been bigger. That was traditionally never the case. You go back over the last couple of generations, and the thought was always, and it was correct, if you increase turnout, that would help the Democrat candidate. That's no longer true as the two parties have really shifted when it comes to the demographics, the socioeconomics of both political parties. As the GOP becomes more of a working class party, at least under Trump, what that means is you have low propensity voters, people that do not show up for school board races, people that are less likely to show up for midterms, but they'll show up for presidential years. So as you've seen, like right here in Johnson County, used to be a traditional GOP county. As now it's swung to the left, what do you see? School boards, city councils, a lot of these local races have swung to the left, dramatically to the left. In large part because you just don't have, well, there's a lot of reasons for that, specifically in Johnson County, that we could break down over a 4-hour show. But just from the 35,000-foot view, part of what you've seen happen, too, is that these highly engaged voters that maybe were leaning GOP 15 years ago are now diehard Democrats in many cases. So they're going to go out there. They're going to vote in these school board elections. They're going to vote in these city council elections. And in my opinion, they're doing a terrible job of it. But you know what? They're getting out there and they're voting. And you know what? The other side isn't. So what's that say? So now Trump hits the campaign trail. And Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, noted this yesterday, that Trump's going to be much more active going into next year. And they're going to make it about him in 2026.
He's going to have a fun next year. But we're going to put him on the campaign trail, too. Typically, just a little bit of campaign speak, if I may.
Yeah.
Typically, in the midterms, it's not about who's sitting at the White House. It's you localize the election, right, and you keep the federal officials out of it. We're actually going to turn that on its head.
Good.
And put him on the ballot because so many of those low propensity voters are Trump voters.
Yes, they are.
And we saw a week ago Tuesday what happens when he's not on the ballot and not active. So I haven't quite broken it to him yet, but he's going to campaign like it's 2024 again.
Oh.
For all these people that he helps. He doesn't help everybody, but for those he does, he's a difference maker, and he's certainly a turnout machine.
That is Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles. Now, some of you are sitting there, and I know what you're saying. You're like, no, this is a bad idea because it's going to remind people that they hate Trump. No, the people that hate Trump don't need to be reminded of it, okay? They live with it. They wake up, and the first thing they think about is how much they hate Trump. Those people do not need to be reminded. Those people who are just waking up every day in this administration hating Trump don't need a reminder, John. They live and they breathe this stuff. It is their religion in many cases.
Logging on to ballroomprogresscam.com.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Every day they find a reason to hate this guy. Every single day. Him showing up on a campaign trail, him showing up in, some rally in Pennsylvania. I don't think he's coming to Missouri or Kansas, but, I'd love to be wrong about that. But it's not going to change anything on the other side. What it may do, though, is drive out some of those low propensity folks who would not otherwise come out and vote in a midterm year. And that's the strategy here. Nationalize this thing. Remind people why they showed up and voted for this guy in 2024. Sell them on what you've done thus far. And admit, I think the key here, though, is admitting you still have work to do and admitting how your plan is going to take a little bit of time. If you get up there and you say everything's great, the affordability crisis is, like a Russia collusion talking point, then you're screwed. Nobody wants to hear that. But if you get up there and if you're honest with the people and you say, listen, this is something that we knew was going to take a little time. The damage of the last 4 years was not going to be fixed in 12 months. Here's our plan. Here's why it's working. Here's what we think is going to happen. If you're honest with people, then I think you've got a chance to really hold on to the House and the Senate. But if it's like, affordability crisis, what a talking point by the other side, then you're just, you might as well just mail it in. So all eyes are on this Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers deal where Netflix announced late last week that it was going to buy Warner Brothers $27.75 a share. But then yesterday, Paramount announced it's going for a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers. And their approach is, hey, we're offering $30 a share, all cash. This is better for the shareholders of Warner Brothers. And this is the deal that they have to take. So they're trying for the hostile takeover, which means they want to take this directly to the shareholders for a vote. We'll see how it plays out. Now, I'm rooting for Paramount in all this. All right, I made that very clear yesterday. I believe that Paramount would be much better off owning some of the iconic brands in this country. I'm sorry, Netflix, which has obviously ties to the Obamas and Susan Rice and all these people, they'll be transing Superman in no time. You just wait to see what they do. We'll have a non-binary Batman before the end of the year, 2026, if that deal goes through. So I'm a hard pass on Netflix being in charge of the iconic brands that come out of Warner Brothers. But it remains to be seen as to whether or not Paramount, run by David Ellison, who is trying to basically take CBS News and a lot of the brands they've been involved with and not move them to the right, but just get them back to doing journalism and being down the middle and, understanding where the American people are at. So I respect them for doing that. But yesterday, the president was asked, hey, what about the fact that you've got now Paramount going for the hostile takeover? And by the way, according to reports, Jared Kushner is also involved in Paramount's side of this deal and trying to obviously take over Warner Brothers. Here's what the President of the United States had to say about this.
Like that. And we're going to be reducing it very substantially.
Do you support the Paramount
It'll be safe,
bid, Mr. President?
but we're going to be reducing it very
Do
substantially.
you support the Paramount bid for Warner Brothers? That came
I don't
this
know enough
morning?
about it.
You spoke about Netflix last night, saying you have concerns about them.
I know the companies very well. I know what they're doing, but I have to see what percentage of market they have. We have to see the Netflix percentage of market, Paramount, the percentage of market. None of them are particularly great friends of mine. I want to do what's right. It's so very important to do what's right.
Paramount deal is supported by Jared Kushner, Mr. President. Would that impact your decision?
If Paramount is, I don't know. I've never spoken to him about it. He's really trying to work on Gaza. I think Gaza's his primary thing is Gaza.
You're making houses.
That must be nice, Jared Kushner, 44 years old. That guy's, 7, 8 years older than me at this point. And I'm just like, boy, I'm trying to get through pneumonia in a radio show. Jared Kushner's trying to solve the Gaza crisis. And then on the side, he's trying for a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers. Geez, the guy's doing all right. Good for him. Unbelievable. So Trump obviously has to stay out of it. He can't be like, oh, yeah, Jared and I were golfing last week, and he was telling me about how, he's working with Paramount, and they're going for the hostile takeover of Warner Brothers. He can't do any of that. And nor should he do any of that. That would obviously be a major conflict of interest. You wouldn't want the president of the United States getting involved with his son-in-law on a deal like this or even talking about it. So they've got to make sure that those things are very much separated. That being said, I was thinking about this yesterday in the wake of all this Netflix, Warner Brothers, and Paramount drama. Why is it? And I don't have the perfect answer. I've thought a lot about it. Why is it that there are no new classic TV shows or movies? Can you even name the last one? And when did it stop? Those three things I've spent the last 24 hours thinking about in the wake of all this news. And I don't have the answer. I mean, I'm hoping you can help me at 913-408-7957. I feel like the cutoff was somewhere around 2010, 2011. It's been 15 years. I just think about some of the TV shows that were obviously enormous. I mean, Lost comes to mind. I didn't watch it, but I know a lot of people that did, that were all in. And you were talking about people sitting down and watching these shows on whatever night of the week they were on. Maybe Grey's Anatomy had a little bit of that in the mid-2000s, late 2000s as well, before we got to 2010, 2011. But it feels like the cutoff was somewhere around then. But since then, all you get is largely reboots. I mean, even the kids' movies. And some of these kids' movies are good. The girls went and saw Zootopia 2 last weekend, or 2 weekends ago at this point. And they loved it. But everything's a 2 or a 3. Moana's got 2 coming out. That's obviously been out. But it's a sequel, or it's a third movie, or it's a reboot.
Or a live action of a cartoon.
Or a live action of a cartoon.
They're doing that with Moana.
Oh, are they doing? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I did see that. My kids saw Mulan for the first time this weekend, and now they're asking about the live one. But I actually saw the live one when it came out in 2020, and it was total garbage, the live action one. So we told them, no, we're not doing that. But it feels like that there's nothing new out there. And I'll just say this much. As I'm a fan of Paramount, whoever takes over Warner Brothers, I mean, just give me something new to latch onto here, John. Anything.
Careful what you ask for.
Well, that's a good point.
We'll have Batman returning to the wet market in China where he was born to explain the COVID virus.
Yes.
Right?
That's so true. Oh, that would be funny, actually. That'd be a good twist on it. But it's the same thing with video games. I mean, no one even tries. You just feel like you're getting reboots, or you're getting, the 7th version of this show or this video game or that video game. There is nothing new out there. And I have a friend who's actually in the industry for one of the big players, and he is beyond frustrated because he's someone who's involved in pitching new things, and he hasn't had anything approved in years. He's like, what do I even do this for? Why do I have a job? His job is new projects for one of the major companies in New York City. And he just goes nuts because he comes up with these ideas. One time he came up with an idea to do a big series on Frank Sinatra. You know what they told him? Not enough diversity. Too many white guys. We can't do this. Too many white people in this. Well, yeah, it was Frank Sinatra. It was a bunch of Italians.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
We can't go back to the fact that when he was young, back in the 30s, that his parents probably were first gen here.
Yeah, and they got treated like crap.
I don't know that much about him, but certainly not that far removed from Italy.
I mean, Italians were treated like crap when they came to the country.
Exactly.
But hey, we need to find a way to get a black, a Latino, and an Indian guy in this thing. It's no, you just tell the story. So, yes, he got that project shut down because there was not enough diversity in the project. I mean, this is the kind of stupidity that these major outlets are now dealing with. And these are how they go about making their decisions as to what they produce and what they don't produce.
Your friend will say, here's an idea, genius. Why don't you make the diversity part of the staff and the crew?
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't need to be in the final product.
Yes, exactly. On the text line, Pete, Mad Men may have been the last show that was universally watched as well. Yeah, I mean, and Paramount's got some of that. The closest thing we have are, the Yellowstones and the 1923s, and maybe, Landman right now with Billy Bob Thornton is great. But I don't know if we're ever going back to the era of a truly universally beloved TV show or movie that defines a generation. Because what my kids are seeing right now is largely all reboots. What we watch at home are largely the classics as well from when I was a kid or even prior to that.
And you can't just turn on CBS and watch Landman, right? You have to have Paramount Plus.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, you got to have Paramount Plus for that. Yes. Which isn't a bad deal when you talk about, some of the costs of these things. Like Netflix is pushing $20 on a lot of these that, we have. I think Paramount Plus you can get for $5.99 with the commercials. Even Mark will pony up for that. I mean, that's just one night of a parlay for him, okay? As long as he's cooking, he's doing just fine. He's rolling through it, man. He's rolling through it. Text line 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. Pete, Breaking Bad, Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead. Yeah, those are all over 10 years old at this point. That's exactly my point. Breaking Bad, I love Breaking Bad. We watched it when Kate was pregnant with our second. I mean, we burned through that thing. I had never seen it. But none of these shows are within a decade now. Yeah. I mean, it's 2025.
Season 5 on Stranger Things, right?
Yeah.
All those actors are that much older from the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's nothing new. It's all done. And whoever gets Warner Bros., just do something. Do something original that's universally beloved and leave the DEI garbage out of it. That's all I'm asking. Okay? That's it. Coming up, if you are a farmer, are you upset with the price of your equipment? Trump is going after John Deere. Their stock price sank yesterday as a result. He kind of went after John Deere, but then he also kind of said, well, it's Joe Biden's fault. It's not totally John Deere's fault. But if you are in the ag industry, are you fed up with the cost of equipment, and who do you blame? 913-408-7957. We'll get to it next. All right, if you are in the ag industry, I want to hear from you at 913-408-7957. The president yesterday, as you may have seen on the headlines, issued a $12 billion bailout to the farmers, and he was talking about this with the press yesterday. But he didn't just take aim at obviously helping out the farmers. What he also made sure he did was say we got to get the cost of the equipment down that these farmers need to use. And he took a shot at John Deere, but then he kind of backtracked and said, well, this is also about these dumb regulations that the Biden administration required from these companies, and here's what the president had to say.
And we're going to say you're going to reduce the prices. We're not going to do it, and they're not going to reduce. They're going to have to reduce their prices because farming equipment has gotten too expensive. And a lot of the reason is because they put these environmental excesses on the equipment, which don't do a damn thing except make it complicated, make it impractical. And you really have to be, in many cases, you need about 185 IQ to turn on a lawnmower now. So we're going to take that off, that crap off that they put on Biden mostly.
So we're going to take that crap. You need 185 IQ to run a lawnmower, the president says there. And, Biden put a lot of crap in there. He says we're going to take all that stuff off. Okay. So he starts off by saying we got to get the big companies to reduce their prices. And I'm like, this is not really the role of the federal government, putting in basically price restrictions. I don't love that. But then he came around, rightfully so, and he said what we can do and what we should do is take the absurd regulations that exist that drive up the cost of these products to the farmers. That will then eventually lower the costs. There you go. That's it. That's the free market at work right there. That's what I like to hear from the president of the United States. That's my man. I love that. But John Deere stock fell a couple of percentage points yesterday. It's rallying this morning. It's up a tick. It's up less than 1%. But when Trump made those comments, John Deere stock took a pretty deep drop. A couple of percentage points, nothing crazy. And now it's starting to rally back today. But it goes to show you that obviously the markets are watching everything the president of the United States is saying, and they're trying to get a handle on it and figure out what it means for these companies going forward. I actually think that John Deere stock should be in the green because if the end result is this administration taking off some of these dumb green energy policies that they've got in place that drive up the cost of making these goods and this equipment for the farmers, that's going to be a win for everybody. Prices will come down, profits will go up because they're going to sell more equipment at a better cost. 913-408-7957. Jim's in Blue Springs. What's up, Jim?
Hey, there's about three things that are driving up the cost for farmers. One is the equipment, the excessive stuff, and that's very hard to fix, like you said. Two is the cost of chemicals between fertilizers and sprays are much more expensive. All the companies are merging to where they have a monopoly and they can kind of manipulate the system. And then three is you just have these land buyers out there and they just raise their prices on rentals. They buy the ground because they're real estate funds or whatever, and they buy the ground, and then that's the rate of return. That's all.
So it's those three things. It's the cost of equipment. It's the cost of land, obviously, going up because in many cases these farmers are renting land from people and then farming on that land. And then it's the cost of fertilizer as well, which also has skyrocketed here as of late.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what.
And, I think that there has to be something noted. And I'm not, listen, I've had the president's back on these tariffs, but, some may say that the tariffs have had a negative impact in the short term, even though this is about resetting the global economy over the long haul. There has been, in a global economy, some short-term pain on this for the farmers as well. Is that fair, Jim?
Yeah, but Biden didn't abide by the first trade deal that Trump put in place. He let that all slip. And so we weren't selling anything the previous 3 years to China like we should have been to create a demand. So it's kind of, you're comparing apples and oranges.
And you're talking about the soybeans in particular?
Yeah, beans and corn and milo. The only thing they've been buying is fresh meat, really. And that makes a difference because Biden let that go because he's got his connections in China, or his boy does, and they didn't have to. And then they just been supplementing South America stuff. And, South America is just living free because they know we protect them without doing anything.
Yeah.
They just buy and sell and make
Thanks,
their money.
Jim. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. 913-4087-95.7. I'm grateful for your expertise because this is not my area of expertise. I just know, obviously, what I'm reading, sharing that with you, and what the president in this case is saying about it. But obviously, it's something that, from the American farmer perspective, is getting a lot of attention. You saw some local reaction to this as well. Ty Masterson, who is running for governor of Kansas, he posted yesterday, big win for Kansas farmers. President Trump just delivered a massive $12 billion aid package to support our hardworking producers, $11 billion to row crops, $1 billion for specialty crops. President Trump promised he would never forget rural America, and today he delivered. Ty Masterson adding here, as your next governor, I'll bring the same America First leadership with lower taxes, fewer regulations, and strong support for Kansas agriculture. That was part of the Ty Masterson statement, who I tried to get on the show today, but I couldn't make it happen. And that makes me wonder, because a big part of what I would have asked him about is obviously this deadline coming up for Kansas when it comes to the star bonds for the Chiefs and the Royals. We've been told the deadline is 12/31, and they need at least a couple of weeks to review something. And here we are, 3 weeks out? And as far as I know, no one's got anything on the Kansas side. So I'm not sure what the silence means, but do with that information what you want.